Hi. Uh, I'd like to make a little bit of a different video that's not really like a typical, you know, development update of the technology of the game or anything like that, but rather talk about the production and game design process. You know, at a large level that I'm taking for this game. So the game is Tides of Revival, and I'll get into what that might be a little bit later. Um, so you might have heard that game development is not a sprint; it's a marathon, and I agree with that. I think that's a it's a great analogy. Um, you shouldn't rush yourself through game development because that's not going to be good. But I'd like to offer a different analogy, and that is that maybe it's like climbing a mountain. Uh, and you could kind of see it like the way to the mountain is the figuring out what and how you're going to make it, what and how you're going to make, and climbing the mountain is the actual making of the game. Uh, and as you like move up the mountain, you'll encounter different features and different stuff, and that's what's going to be your game. If you climb up a different mountain that looks different, that's going to be a different game. And when you reach the peak, I guess you're done. But like in my case, we're a team now. We're making a single player first person RPG taking place on a 500 by 500-kilometer map. This is a genre that really hasn't been made since like the 90s when Tigerfall did it. So there's no blueprint to follow, and it's also we're four people working less than part time on this hobby project. So it's going to take a decade or two, to make this game, and it would be silly and wrong and stupid of me to say that I know exactly what the mountain looks like that we're building or climbing. I have every detail crisp in my mind. I know what it looks like. That's not the case. Maybe I know the type of mountain range that we're going for. Um, so I don't really know what we're making. I don't know exactly which mountain we'll end up with, and and there's another problem as well, and that is that even if I had that, w- would we really want to work on a game for 20 years, in a sort of linear fashion where we're just making it better day by day, day by day, day by day? But even after like 5 years, maybe it's still not fun because we still have 15 more years to go before it's fun. That's it's not fun to work like that, and I also think it's not very optimal. So, what the way that I'm sort of expanding my analogy with is hills, and I think you can understand what I'm going for here. Basically, you start with just imagining a simple game that is sort of on the path to where you're going, but it's a small hill that you can climb, uh, and then you'll continue to climb hills that'll get larger and more complex. And every time you climb a hill, you'll have a clearer vision. Not only because you've completed a game, even if it's a basic game, but also because now that you're standing on the hill in this analogy, you can actually see other hills that you couldn't see before because the hill that you're standing on, it was in the way. But now that you're standing on the hill, you can see more mountains in the distance, and you can see more hills, and you can see, oh, that hill looks fun. That's where we're going to go next, right? So I think this is going to be good for morale because we're always going to have like a short term goal to look towards. Um, and when we reach that, we're going to have some more information about what we want to do and if the thing that we just did worked well, or if we should go somewhere completely different. It's totally fine to do an experiment here. Like, okay, we're going to make it's going to be a roguelike, the next hill that we climb. And then we get up there and be like, well, actually, roguelike, that's not quite what we're after. We're gonna make a epic story RPG instead. That's gonna be the next hill. It's much easier to make this sort of transition, or pivot, because it's not really pivot. It's just like you go down a bit and then you go up again. So every time you're down, you are going to have to tear some things down and throw some things away, but that works for us. It's not a commercial project, so we're not wasting time or energy in that sense. To make the game the best game it can be, I think this is the best way to do that. So, as an example of how we did this in the past, um, basically the first real gameplay that I added, that was like early this year, in early January. You spawned in one of these villages, and there was another village, few hundred meters, I think, away. And what I did was, okay, if you're outside in the dark, you're going to die. Crash the game. And but you will be able to place lanterns, and by standing in a lantern, you're safe, but you can't like walk out of the light of the lantern, because then you're gonna die. So you have to wait for the day to come. Then you can place, run towards the village and place lights. Then when the night comes, you stay safe and wait. And that was not like a good game. That's not the point. The point is that when we had this, I could evaluate and see, okay, what was nice about it, and there was something nice about it. You could really imagine how, by seeing this sort of path of lanterns, how later in the game you might see this village from like a different perspective, or you can see this path lit up as you're walking along a different path, and you can see, wow, I built that path, and that's now a safe path for travelers or caravans to move on. And that feels pretty good. That's a good feeling that you've done something good onto the world. And it also looks kind of nice, right? It's a cozy look. So that was sort of my expectation, and I think it worked. I think it proved that point. So I'm quite happy about that. And so this morning I sat down to write down some notes about how to do that again, because since this, we've tore a lot of the gameplay down, especially the light mechanics is tore down, because we've focused on rebuilding a lot of the core technology to be much better. And now it's starting to get time to like rebuild the gameplay, basically climb a new hill. So what I did is I thought, okay, what do I want? Well, I want gameplay back, and I want a basic goal. It's okay if it's something that only the player brings for themselves. There should be some element of skill or learning as a player. And then I noted down some thoughts, based on things that I know we will want in the game. Like, should there be roads? Should there be combat? Should the villages grow? All different thoughts. And then what I did was I imagined not this hill, but the next hill. Like, okay, let's say we climb this hill. What's the hill after that going to look like? Probably. Well, it's probably going to be something like, well, you're going to go into the wilderness and kill monsters, beasts, bandits. That's going to increase the safety, and safe villages are going to build roads and maybe place lights. And where there are roads, there are going to be caravans. And that's like that touches upon a lot of the mechanics and themes of the game. So that's going to be like a good thing. But it's a little bit too complex for the first, or the hill that we're currently going to climb. So then the question is, okay, how do we take this and strip it down into something that's a fun game that isn't like, I don't want to reuse the light mechanic because we've done that, so I want to do a different thing. But what should that be? And I don't know yet. I have some ideas, but I haven't really decided. So yeah, that's been basically what I've been thinking about and how I'm approaching this process of making a long-term epic game. I hope you found that a little bit interesting, and it's rare to hear people talk about these things. I think so. Or maybe I'm just not following the right people. But I thought it might be interesting to talk about at least. All right, thank you. Bye bye.